so this is my first ever Olympia jacket. So this is the 2015, so over 5 years ago now. And if I'm brutally honest, this is the most memorable for me. This is where I placed 4th in the Olympia, my pro debut, or my Olympia debut. And it was against all the odds. Like I say, a lot of people, because I was like the first European to get to the Olympia stage, people weren't expecting me to break the top 10. Even though I had a bit of hype going into it after winning the Pittsburgh Pro, which was quite a big pro show, no one was really expecting me to do anything. So myself and my coach, we both aimed for top 5. That was our goal. We knew we weren't going to display the top 3, so we wanted to try and get in that top 5 somehow. And we worked our asses off. We loved every minute of it. Stepping on the Olympia stage for the first time was just absolutely incredible. And just the whole process of it, getting the jacket, being at the athletes meeting, doing the check-ins, getting the tan done, it was all a huge experience for me, and it's the first experience of being at that calibre of athlete. So yeah, it was unbelievable. And stepping on stage, no matter what I got, I was so proud to have this jacket. And I've said, when I started my career, it was a few years before that. I've been training over a decade before, and I always said I'd love to own an Olympia jacket. So this was my ultimate goal. So when I got this, I felt like it was a huge life goal ticked off. It may seem sad to some people, but to me it was a huge achievement, and it still is to this day. And the reason we're doing obviously this video, or these videos today, they're all going to be framed, so this will probably be the last time I ever wear this. It's going to be put in a frame. I only ever wore it for the Olympia weekend back in 2015, and I'll be wearing it obviously now, and then that's it. It's going to be framed and cherished up on my office wall. So this year my main competitors was obviously Jeremy Buendia. He was right up there, obviously he was first. We had Sadiq Hazovic, who is a legend in himself. He was second. We had Jason Poston, who was one of the poster boys for Men's Physique when it first came out. He was third. I placed 4th. Brandon Hendrickson, who was obviously a Mr. Olympia as well, he placed 5th. So we had some big names up in there. There was Anton Antipov, he placed 6th. So yeah, it was a very memorable time for me. Just to step on stage against those at the time, obviously I was just turned pro. I was very new to it all, and it was just amazing to share the stage with those people. Yeah, this prep was unbelievable. We had no pressure on us because yes, we were the only people from Europe and from the UK, the first people, but there was no expectation for us. So we was just in a big bubble, massive hype that we were going to the Olympia, and whatever was going to happen on that day, it didn't really matter. We were stepping on the Olympia stage. So I secretly, that competitive side of me was still wanting to push and be at my best. And to be honest with you, I feel 2015 was my best shape on the Olympia stage. I felt full. I had no pressures of sponsors or having to place anywhere, and just the whole enjoyment of stepping on the Olympia stage for the first time. And I worked with my coach for 10 years. We were probably at the 6-7 year mark at that point. We knew each other, he knew my body, we were reacting in the way we needed to, and we just enjoyed the process. There was no injuries either, which was nice, very nice. So obviously stepping off stage with 4th place, it was an absolutely amazing achievement. But all I remember thinking was, now I've got to get ready for next year. I've got 364 days to get ready to be in 4th place, and that was a huge kick up the arse for me. And everyone was saying, why didn't you just go and enjoy it? Why didn't you do this? I was so determined to be the best in the world that I was like, no, we need to get back to a game plan. I'm not quite good enough yet because there's 3 people in front of me. So I remember we went to Cheesecake Factory. That's where I developed a love for Cheesecake Factory. And the whole time, instead of celebrating, I was badgering my coach on what do we need to improve on, what do you think I needed to improve on, so we could start putting a plan together. And that's how I've always worked. That's how the last 5 years have gone. So yeah, that's what I remember mostly is stepping on stage determined to beat 4th place. Yes, so this is the 2016 Mr. Olympia jacket. This for me, the first thing I think of when I wear this jacket is the fact that it's my best placing at the Olympia. So this is where I placed 2nd in the world, 1 point behind Jeremy. And yeah, it such mixed emotions when I placed second, because a lot of me was elated that my whole goal for that year, or for this year, was to place better than fourth. So I never said I wanted to win the Olympia that year. I knew I still had to climb the ladder, and I knew I still had my time to serve and things to improve on to be Mr. Olympian, but I just wanted to beat fourth place, so that's all we set out to do. So I still achieved my goal. So one side of me was like, amazing, great, second place. But then the other side of me, the competitive side of me, I was like, 1 point, I've got to wait another year. And I was so close. And the feedback was that year was that I was lifting my arms too high in my back pose, because when I was going through the mandatory poses, I was dead centre for most of the time on stage, so that indicates to you're in the front and you're a front runner. And then right at the last minute, they just put me, they moved me to the side. And it was, oh, what have I done wrong? And it was because I lifted my arms too high, and they were saying I was too bodybuilderish, and it was just not natural. It was a natural pose. So yeah, it was hard to swallow, but at the same time, placed second. Went on to Korea and won my Asia Grand Prix from there. So it was a great few weeks in total. I had my brother come out and surprise me, which he had saved up all year, him and his wife, to come out and surprise me. So it was amazing to have him see me on stage. I think he's only ever saw me once on stage when I was in the UK. Obviously my mum had travelled out, which was nice. She came out and to support me. So I had a good network of family and friends all around me. So it was a good year, 2016. It was a great year. And again, stepped off stage. What do I need to do now for next year to improve on my placing? 2016, I think I over-dieted slightly. Even though the placing was better, I think I over-dieted slightly and I sacrificed muscle tissue. So I was more conditioned, that's for sure, but I feel like I wasn't as 3D and as blocky as 2015. So that was probably the only negative, but the results say different. So I was actually smaller than 2015, and that's something I remember, because a lot of people say to me, you need to be bigger every year. And at that stage, I'd actually gone backwards in size, but I was more conditioned and I improved on placing. So I tried not to talk and to let people around me get into my head about, right, you need to be bigger, you need to be this. But unfortunately I did for the next year. Yeah, so leaving 2016 Olympia, a lot of people were saying, I need to be living in America and I need to add size, I need to be bigger. Like, it's okay with condition and shape, but there's always a missing factor. You need all three, which is size, condition and shape. And that was something what was starting to resonate. In 2016 I was like, right, there's no other place in front of second place now other than first, so I need to set my goals on first, and that was making sure everything, and I'd left no stone unturned, ready for the next year. So this is the 2017 Mr. Olympia jacket, and wearing this at the minute is actually bringing back not so good memories. So this is a jacket, probably the worst one of it is in fact the worst one of the Olympia. So this is where I placed 6th in the world, so I dropped from 2nd to 6th, and a lot happened in this year, and to be honest, this is where a lot has changed for me since in this year. So leaving the 2016 Olympia, I felt, and a lot of my team around me felt, like the missing piece was moving to America. They just felt like I could be more involved with the federation, I can get more exposure, and I can just, like say, excel going into the Olympia. So I upheavaled Amy and myself from the UK, and we moved to America 12 weeks before the Olympia. And yeah, it was a huge risk. We went into the Olympia. It wasn't the best prep. It was very difficult trying to adjust to the American heat. Obviously we lived in Florida, we're in the UK, we're not used to that heat. So my body wasn't reacting the way it should have done. So it was hard to adapt to that. Obviously missing my support team, I didn't have my coach. a gym to train out of. We didn't have an apartment, so a bit silly really, a bit naive going over there thinking everything was going to be quite easy. It was quite difficult. And then 2 weeks before the Olympia we had Hurricane Irma, category 5 hurricane that hit our flat, our apartment, so we had to evacuate. It was just a very dramatic, traumatic time for me and Amy. But so we got to Vegas though, and to my surprise, my mum turned up again. So did my brother, my sister, my best friend from Australia, Amy's parents. So we had a huge entourage of team. And I felt the pressures. This was the first year I really felt the pressures. Everyone was expecting me to win the Olympia after placing second last year. I was the Arnold Classic champion at the time as well, so that put me in good stead for winning the title. So yeah, I felt the pressures. I had big sponsorship deals at the time as well, they were very supportive, and even to this day they're still supportive, but again I did feel the pressure. I had a lot of camera crew around me and people were expecting that win. So going on stage, my goal not only was to move to America, but was to come in bigger, was to be undoubtable and to make sure the judges saw change, and everyone was saying all about size. So I came in bigger, about 10 pounds heavier than the year before. I overcarved, but on purpose, so I came in big and full, and the judges didn't like it. I didn't like it, to be honest. I felt uncomfortable. It wasn't the way I wanted to look on stage. And it showed in my confidence on stage. You can look back on footage, I'm just not me on stage. I'm not the person that I like to be on stage. So, and that affected my placing. And I was deserving of that, I think, personally. I wasn't happy, so why should the judges be happy? You could probably see that on stage. So I placed 6th, and a lot of people still say what an amazing achievement, you're 6th in the world, but when you had so much riding on it and so much people expecting a better placing, it was difficult. And if I'm brutally honest, it hit me very, very hard. I went into a slight depression after it, and yeah, it's been a very difficult road to get back from that, if I'm brutally honest. So 2017 I was competing against, again, Jeremy Buendia, who went on to be 4 times Mr. Olympia at that point. I had Brandon Hendrickson, all the people I compete against with, and all the people I've beaten in previous shows, like Andre Ferguson, Brandon Hendrickson, Jeremy Potvin, people like that, they were all up there. And I've never really looked at other competitors other than Jeremy, because he's the guy I need to beat, and he's the guy who has my titles. That he was the only person I focused on. So to come, obviously, to get beat by all of them, it was very difficult, but they turn up on the day. And then when you're at that level, you can't not, you have to be at your best, and however you feel comfortable, you have to be at that stage, because when you're on stage on your own, you need to be as confident as you can, and they excelled, and I fell into the shadows, and it was soul destroying. I had seen my family all in the personalised Ryan Terry t-shirts with the England flags, and just, yeah, it was, I felt like I let a lot of people down, and that's how I channeled, or I was determined for the next year to come back stronger and better. So here we have the 2018 Mr. Olympia jacket, and this was the year of my comeback, so to speak. So in 2018 we decided, after the 2017 Olympia, that America wasn't for us. Although we enjoyed our time out there, for me the Olympia is the ultimate. It's my job, but it's my passion, it's my hobby, and I felt like I needed to go back to my old gym, which I've always prepped out of. I need to go back to my old training partner, who I miss training with, the kitchen that I prep all my food out of. So back to my routine and consistency. So we moved back. I got my support team around me, so I had my family close by. Amy had her family, which was a big help for me, and friends, and let's say coach, everything around me. So we set to work, determined as hell to beat that 6th place and come back with a vengeance. Started prepping, no one was talking about me, everyone was like, he's done. Obviously I'm out of the top 5, I wasn't even talked about. I was definitely one of the underdogs going into 2018. Obviously, Jeremy had announced he was retiring as well, so this was his last year. For me, that was a huge driving force because he was the only guy out of the whole men's physique division that I'd not beaten, I'd gone up against and not beaten. So I didn't want him to retire and there's be someone out there who I'd not actually beat. So that was a huge driving force, and I started prepping for the show. I kind of over dieted. I was very, very determined, and I was coming in too quick, and I caused an injury a few weeks out from the 2018 Olympia. I actually tore the labrum in my hip. It was about 5 weeks out, and we thought it was game over, and it should have been really, but I was that determined, and I just wanted to prove to everybody that I still was up there and I wasn't done. I kind of worked through it, so I had to stop training legs, which was quite hard, but I knew it wasn't a necessity. I was still doing little bits, but just not to the point where it was aggravating the hip. Couldn't train abs, so I had to change all my abdominal routines around. So instead of heavy weighted exercise I used to do, I moved into like isotension type of training, just every morning tensing my abs, trying to get them tight. And we came in exactly how we wanted, so there was no excuses there. And I managed to, one, beat Jeremy, which again was a huge, huge achievement for me, and two, get back up in that top three, placing third, was just a way of letting everybody know that I'm not quite done and that you shouldn't write me off just yet. So although it wasn't first place, it's very difficult to be in a sixth place position to then go and win the year after. It's kind of having to work my way back up. So yeah, I had no disappointment in 2018. I was happy with third place. It was nice to be back on the map and get everyone talking about me again. And that's kind of the biggest thing I remember from 2018. So this is the fifth and final Olympia jacket, and this is the 2019 Olympia jacket. So coming from 2018, third place, went into 2019 thinking, right, this is going to be a major year. But I also knew that I had an injury which wasn't going away and it needed sorting. So I went straight after the Olympia to go and get it looked at, and yeah, they confirmed I had a labral tear and it needed operating on. So early on in the year, I had 2 hip operations, and I was on crutches for 6 months of the year. So it wasn't an ideal start, obviously going into the Olympia prep, having 6 months off the gym completely. I'd lost a lot of size. Mentally I was struggling because you're looking at the likes of your competition, Brandon Hendrickson, Raymond Edmonds, Andre Ferguson, all getting bigger, competing every weekend, getting that momentum behind them going into the shows, as I was bedbound on crutches, getting smaller and smaller. So it was very difficult for me. And not only that, I thought, just to make things a bit harder, I decided to build the house we're in now, our family home, and myself and Amy, who's now my wife, were getting married. So there was a lot of things going off and I was trying to juggle a lot of things. So my focus, if I'm brutally honest, wasn't fully on the Olympia. There was a lot of things I had to do first in my social life, and I did. I got all out of the way. We got to the end of May, which we were 16 weeks out from Olympia, just under 16 weeks, and I'd not even touched a dumbbell or a weight at that point. So I knew I was up against it, but again, people were saying to me, right, miss this Olympia, come back bigger, stronger next year. And there was just something in the back of my head saying, if you qualify for the biggest show in the world, and at that stage, there's no UK athletes on that stage, and I don't know, I felt like there was something telling me I had to do it. You can't give up. If you feel like there's a shred of hope that you can get on that Olympia stage in that 16 weeks and represent your country, then you're not going to miss that opportunity. So I started prepping. People thought I was mad. Even in my camp, people thought I was silly to do it, and if I'm going to jeopardise my reputation by not placing in the top 10 if I'm too small, or if I've not at the standard I normally am. But I wasn't bothered about that. For me, it's more about stepping on the Olympia stage and qualifying is a huge achievement in itself. So I thought, I'm prepping for it. I even booked our tickets before I even started. I'd done my rehab before we start weight training, because I thought if I don't book it, there's an excuse of not going. So I thought if I do book it, no excuses. So once they were booked, I never looked back. So I prepped hard, trying to work around injuries, which was difficult, but it was manageable, and I did that. And I project managed this house, so I was on this house every day, working till 11, 12 o'clock at night, up at 6 o'clock doing my cardio, and it was a full-on prep. I must admit, it was one of the hardest preps I've ever done in my life. And there was a few times at breaking point, but again, I just didn't want to let anyone down. I didn't want to let myself down, and I didn't. At the end of the day, I stepped on the Olympia stage last year, and I placed 5th in the world, which, again, judging on past shows, it wasn't very good. It's one of my worst placings, but in the grand scheme of it, to place top 5 in the world after the year I had, I was over the moon with it, and I would have taken that all day long at the start of my prep. And it's hard for me to say that, because as a competitor and as a human being, I would never accept 5th place. I was always first or nothing, you're first or you're last. And that's how I've always had that mentality. But with everything I endured in that year, there was a huge relief to just place top 5th. I had a few people, even though some top names, all say you should have placed better. And judging on by the footage, I was happy enough with it. Yes, I'd lost a bit of size, and probably my shape wasn't the way it should have been. But to still place top 5 in the world after all that, I was tired, but I was over the moon as well. So I was ready to just get off the stage. And not put it behind me, because it's a good memory. I'm still top 5 in the world and whatnot. Yeah, so I came off stage. The first thing I did was went on my honeymoon with my wife, because I didn't obviously have a chance to do that whilst I'm prepping. So we went 2 weeks in Jamaica, and all I did that whole time was one, binge on food. I must have put 20 pounds of weight on, fat on, but at the same time I was making goals for 2020. So I'm not done yet. Obviously it's my 6th attempt at the Olympia. I've been very fortunate that I've qualified each year. To just step on that stage is a huge achievement. So this year I'll be stepping on the stage again, but we'll be aiming for that first place. Injury or not, I'll be at my best come December this time. We'll show you the 2020 Olympia jacket once it's framed up there with that gold medal. So there you have it, guys. That's my Olympia journey so far. As you could see, there's been some ups and downs in the last 5 years. But overall, I'm absolutely elated and happy with my achievements to date. We've placed 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd and 2nd in the biggest show in the world. So I can't really grumble about those placings, but there is one placing left which I do need, and I'm working really hard around injuries, around obligations and around personal life to get that first place this year. One huge driving force for me is that I'm going to be a dad come September, and that to me means everything. That I can look my son in the eyes one day and tell him that his dad was Mr. Olympia, men's physique Mr. Olympia. So to me that means a lot, and I'm going to do my absolute and utmost that I can ever do. I will push my body to its extremes. I'll be so determined this year to get that first place, and the work has already begun. I know we're in a weird time at the minute with the lockdown and coronavirus and all the uncertainties of what's going on in the world, but all I know is that is still my ultimate goal, and I'm working every day tirelessly to achieve it. So watch this space. 2020, I'm coming for you.